Hi y'all, I'm Chase, and this is my 2021 Harley-Davidson Pan America Special, affectionately known as Wichita, and we're going to do a startup right now. And today's video is, well, I guess it's a response video. And it's to Yummy Noob. He made a video that he didn't understand, well, adventure bikes. And so I'm here to help him out, understanding why people would buy such a thing. And mostly, it's a versatility thing. But there's also some other reasons. But versatility is one. I mean, it's not really a sport bike. But it's more sport bikey than, say, a cruiser. It does have a long travel suspension. And with something like my Pan Am here with a switchable suspension, it'll go through the twisties pretty good. My Pan Am has a 19-inch front tire. Now, I understand that if you have a 21-inch, they don't do so well in the twisties. But with a 19-inch, this thing does pretty good. It's not as if I've never owned anything else. I've owned an Aprilia Shiver, and I've owned a ZX6R. So, I have owned other bikes besides a Harley. Now, this is a very small town called Barnesville, but you see the roads. They're not in great shape. They're in, let's call it mediocre. And I've been into some large cities, and those aren't even mediocre. Those are horrific. They are more worn down than my gravel road that I live on. And having a decent suspension that'll soak up that kind of hell, another point for the ADV. Sorry. ADV bros, sorry, it's one of those things you start understanding why once you start thinking of the way things are at this current moment. Now, there's another reason. And if you're like me, I live out in the middle of nowhere. Seriously, everywhere I go, it's a 50-mile trip. So you don't just walk out your door. This is not where I live. I live in the boonies. I mean, you've seen my road. I'll show it to you later. But I live in the boonies, and, you know, everywhere is a very far trip. So you know what you don't do? You don't just go out and bop into a corner store when you need something. When you go somewhere, well, you kind of go for, well, you max out. And by maxing out, I mean you make the most of a trip into the store because gas is damned expensive. So you don't waste it. Unless you're a motorcyclist like me and you waste gas all the time. But I have bags on this bike. I have a top box. You can carry a lot of groceries. Each one of my bags carries 2.5 gallons of milk. I know because when I first got them, I wanted to see. So there's 5 gallons of milk in my bags, and my top box will definitely carry a helmet, my full-size leather coat, and a bunch of other stuff too. So every time you leave your house, it's a trip to somewhere, and you don't want to waste gas if you take that trip. Also, on the everywhere is a long ride or drive to somewhere, comfort. See, this does fine to the corners. See, comfort is king. A lot of guys that you see on ADVs, I wonder how many of them are like me and they had baggers before. And like I said, I've had a ZX6R, I've had an Aprilia, a Shiver, you know, I've had Sportsters, I've had a Dyna, and I had a Road King. And honestly, I thought the Road King was going to be like the last bike I bought. But I've spent 14 years living in the boonies on a gravel road. And I'll tell you what, nothing will pucker your butt like a pair of road tires on the slopes I have to descend and ascend on freshly laid gravel that is about as close to marbles as you can get. You can go back and look at some of my old videos. There's plenty of them, me doing my road on, let's see, my Dyna, on my Fat Bob, and on my my Road King. There's another reason. But comfort is the main one. Is, you know, I can ride on this thing for hours on end. The suspension is part of that. The seat is part of that. You know, I can go for a long ride. And like I said, I thought that a bagger was going to be it, because everywhere I have to go is a long ride. I started looking at ADVs. Man, I hated the way they looked. And granted, I don't think they look all that great now. Honestly, the best looking one, probably the Honda, the Africa Twin. But again, you have to take into consideration everything. You know, like an ADV. It does a little bit of everything. And I live out in the middle of nowhere. And this will do everything that my bagger would do, and then some. So why not get this bike? Yes, it's taller. If you're a shorter person, you will likely have a little bit of a learning curve, and it won't be as easy for you to switch from a cruiser or a bagger to this. And I know a lot of guys will never, I mean, their ADV will never even see a dirt road gravel. Mine does. Every single time I leave and come home, it sees gravel every time, without fail, because that's what I live on. I live in the middle of nowhere on a gravel road. Everywhere I go, long haul. Cruise control is nice. ABS, I don't really need traction control because, like I said, I spent 14 years on bikes with regular street tires going up and down that treacherous gravel road. But do you know how damned nice it is to have a bike that is easily capable of it? It makes your life less scary, more fun. I go up and down that road now, and I honestly, it's nothing. It is this. It is like I am on a regular road. And man, that is superb. Honestly, it is so great. There's no more fear. There's no more, oh, you know, is something going to run out in front of me? Will I be able to stop in time? This thing stops great. You know, it's got Brembos all the way around it. And you know, honestly, most ADV bikes do. They have great brakes. And they also, a lot of them have, you know, traction control. Now, I have the traction control turned way down on this, but it's still there. And I've done some stupid stuff, I'm not going to lie, and I've got the tail out. But if I want to, I can switch it right back on. There's a button over here to turn off the traction control and turn it back on. And I can go right back to being safe boy. Now, I'm not one of those people that is completely and utterly a safe person, but I'm safe enough. And I'm not stupid. I'm just mostly dumb. And here's one of the other reasons. Yeah. It's not as fast as my ZX6R. Not gonna be. But I'll be damned if it isn't pretty fast. It's faster than a cruiser. It's faster than a bagger. It's just as comfortable. It's got plenty of wind protection too. That's the other thing. Look, a ton of wind protection. So if I want to go for a long ride, and I have, I'm completely and utterly protected. All the other thing. You ever been hit by rain on a naked? Man, that shit stings. It really does. Especially when the drops get real big. It's not fun. This, you know, with the lowers and everything else, it makes it so it's not so painful. And yes, maybe if you live in some cul-de-sac and the only thing you ever see is, well, pavement, concrete. Even then, honestly, I've seen guys turn ADVs into touring bikes. That suspension on them, man, I'll tell you what, that's part of the difference. Honestly, I can tell you right now, having had a Road King, this is a better suspension. In fact, this is a better suspension than I had on my Shiver. It's a better suspension than I've had on my ZX6R. It's just a better suspension all the way around. And I can tune it to however I want. I can stiffen it up, I can soften it up, I can make it so, you know, it does anything I want. And yes, an adventure bike is about possibilities. And sure, some guys will never, ever go any further than, well, tarmac, asphalt, or concrete. But damn it, if they want to, hey, you can do it. And honestly, I didn't really buy a bunch of Farkles. The pegs were good enough for me. The only thing I bought was a wire, a phone mount, and it was a cheap one. I bought some bags because I knew they were made in America. By a guy out in California from Villain to Hero. And of course my exhaust now, made by Stealth Pipes. Again, made in the United States. Now, I did buy a cheap Chinese seat, just because. It was only $100. Guys were raving about it, so I said, screw it, I'll buy one. But really, other than that, there's not a lot I needed to do to this. And this is a Pan America Special. If you get the special version, you're not going to need to do a lot. But you know what? That's true with a lot of things. I mean, that's true with the Africa Twin. That's going to be true with, you know, a BMW. Well, I don't know what all comes on there. But on this bike, all this, the crash car guards and that stuff, that came standard. Oh, I forgot. One guy from Pan America forums did send me the crash guard for free. Seriously, pay it forward. If you guys got extra parts laying around and you know somebody needs them, I mean, honestly, what are you going to do with them? I will forever be grateful for that. But it's not, and that was the other thing that he talked about was, oh, well, it's just putting a bunch of Farkles on stuff. Seriously, dude? But then he goes on to talking about how he did that to his desert sled. And now for the finale, I live out here. I mean, do you see how there isn't, you're not going to walk out and go to the local 7-Eleven or anything else. I mean, this is where I live. I mean, it's nice. We got lots of twisties and stuff like that. I live out in the boonies. Would it make more sense for me to have something small? I mean, if all I was doing was riding around my house. Unfortunately, I don't just want to do that. I want to go other places. And speaking of going back to my house, this is what I was talking about. See, all this gravel strewn up here, it's pretty dangerous when you're on a regular bike, but yeah. But this is why. This is what I'm talking about. If you want to know why, it's this stuff right here, at least for a guy like me. But I've seen guys out in, like San Diego turn one of these into a hardcore sport tourer that does $170. Yeah. But I can do this stuff on this bike with ease now. And granted, this is actually pretty nice. Normally this road, during the beginning of the year, they don't lay tar down until about June. So this is just hell. And I'll tell you, it's a major reason why a guy like me would buy an ADV. And here we go. Now, I want you to look at this. I know it's going to be hard to tell from the camera, but do you see, like, how steep this is? I mean, this is very, very steep. But on a bike like this, not such a big deal. When I was on my my Sportsters or my even, you know, my Aprilia Shiver or, you know, anything else I had, this was scary. And here's my road. Here's my next road that I have to go up. I mean, look at that. That's just loose gravel. You know how easy it is to get messed up here? Pretty easy. So, hopefully that helps. Yammy boob or scammy dude or yammy noob? I don't know. Like, comment, subscribe, click that link to be notified of any new videos I'm coming out with, and thank you for watching, lads and lasses. Yammy, thanks for the idea for the video. Stay stubborn, get out there and ride, guys and gals. Bye, y'all.